Hey bros, so this build is really broken. I've been playing this for like a week now, and ever since I've made the switch to Bloodletting variant, it went from kind of a bit of a struggle to just absolutely vanishing everything with just a cast or two. I'm going to be showing you two variants of the build. One is going to be before getting to 20-25 divines of budget and switching to the life only build. And the previous one is going to be more usual Spark with Flame Wall, Frost Bomb, Orb of Storms. I'd just like to ask you before we start the guide to just leave a like on the video because it really does help with getting the video out there for more people. So how does it work? Before the switch, we are playing Spark with Flame Wall, Frost Bomb, Orb of Storms, and also cast on crit with Arc. I'm not going to go into detail over this variant too much because you've seen it before, I'm sure. It's pretty simple. And it's all going to be on the Mobalytics too, as one of the variants. I mostly want to talk about the Bloodletting variant because that's new. And I'm also really happy with how the build went and how how I built it. It was a lot of work. It's really complicated, but it works incredibly well. On a very low budget too. 25 divines for one-shotting everything is really good. Let's look at the Mobalytics, and let's start just shortly with the first variant. We're going to be using something a bit weird, which is a bow and a quiver, with O'Hale and penetrating quiver. This is because penetrating quiver is going to be giving us pierce on enemies, which is going to solve an issue with damage pretty much. It's going to essentially make the damage greater through each projectile hitting multiple mobs. And then what we also want is projectile speed, which is going to scale our projectile damage too with the support gem on our spark. And we have, of course, projectile skill levels. We want a Widow Hail with as high bonuses gained from equipped quiver as possible, but there's a few breakpoints that are important. If you get to 280%, and then you get the Master Fletching instill on the amulet, you're gonna get to 300, of course, and that means you're gonna get +8 to level of all projectile skills. And in this variant, that means to spark and also to arc on our cast on crit. Mask of the Sanguimancer is gonna give us blood magic. All spell costs are going to become life costs. Maligar's Virtuosity is going to lock our crit damage bonus at 250%. This is going to be a very big damage increase. And then there's nothing really special about the rest. We're going to want Energy Shield. We're going to want Resist, the usual stuff. Cast Speed. You can find all of that information right here. For the skill gems themselves, we're going to use quite a lot of them at this stage. The support gem for Spark that makes it so we scale our projectile damage with projectile speed is projectile acceleration. With pinpoint critical, we're going to get maybe 100% crit or very close to it. And the effect of less crit damage bonus is going to not do anything because of the Maligaro's Virtuosity gloves. Besides this, it's just a standard elemental build for Spark, I would say. You have all of the Ascendancy or the stuff to go for here, and all of the skill points you want to go for. Also, the jewels you want to be getting, along with trade links too. And I was using From Nothing on the Hollow Palm technique to get the Kite Runner especially, because of the movement speed, projectile speed, and the projectile damage. And I was also getting these two nodes right there. This is the current Bloodletting build, so it looks different. I've also experimented a bit with the elemental infusions, but I didn't find them to be... Well, I don't know. I didn't feel much of a difference. It was more flashy and looked cool, but besides that, I'm not sure it did anything. I tried having Snap besides Arc on cast on crit, and that did generate a lot of elemental infusions, but I'm not sure it did much. So now on to the good stuff. So this becomes a caster build, doing mostly physical damage with Spark, stacking basically nothing but life, having life costs instead of mana, and going for no elemental resists. What the hell? these are the most important things you need. You have to get these, except for Calm's Heart, but it's so good I would just say you need it. Undying Hate, as you can see, goes for 7 divines. This is required because of this right here. Sacrifice of Blood, regenerate 1 life per second per 8 life spent in the past 8 seconds. We're going to be spending a lot of life, and 50% more life cost to skills. So, as you see, if I keep on spending more life, it keeps on ramping up in regen. And it gets to a point where you become essentially unkillable. And this is going to be an even bigger number when you're fighting something you're actually leeching off of them. But just sitting here at my base, 16,000 regen per second. And having more life cost to skills is also important because of how Bloodletting, the support gem, works. 2% gain of damage is extra physical damage per 10 life cost. Now my Spark is costing currently 3,100 life per cast. I want to mention before I forget that you do want your Spark cost to be below 50% of your health, because there's a mob or affix on mobs that prevents you from regenning to above 50. So if you bump into one of those, you won't be able to cast while around them. So that bad boy is going to be 7 divines. You have to make sure it's a tribute to Tech Rod, or you're not going to get that keystone swapping. The next piece is Calm's Heart. For 3 divines, you can get one that's scuffed, but it should do the trick. 1,300 health. And this can be corrupted to being above 1,800 life. But that is, of course, very costly. And perhaps the most important part of the equipment, actually for sure, the most important part of the gear, is Hathpith. This is going to scale our spells to cost even more, which we want because of Bloodletting, more crit based on max life, and also increased damage per max life. These can all be corrupted to being above 6%, above 5%, above 10%, and also below. As you can see, you can get one that's pretty cheap, 6 divines. This one is actually not even scuffed. And then the Bloodletting gem you can get right here at Unge. And it should cost something like 2 divines. Oh, it's a bit more, it's 3.5 now. As for the rest of the gear, I would say Veil of the Night is pretty important and really good. It's cheap for one, and also it's 50% increased max life, which is a tremendous amount of damage. Now, it does have the downside, kind of you having no elemental resists, but that can be an upside. How? Opportunity cost. You don't have to go for getting elemental resists capped, which means you can go for other stuff. And if you don't go for elemental resists on, say, your boots or gloves and everything else, that means you can get other stuff there instead, other affixes, and it's also going to be far cheaper. These boots that I'm showing here, actually I crafted them. Because of needing no elemental resist, I could go for strength instead. I could go for rarity instead. And you'll see that when you look for in trade gear like this, you can get them for extremely cheap with no resists. I'm gonna assume you're gonna be able to get stuff for 1 exalt even. It's crazy. Surprisingly, another really weird thing with this build is that what you have on the wand doesn't matter all that much, because relative to what the Wrathpith, for example, is doing, the scaling is just about nothing. If you get +5 to lightning, you're pretty much good, because that's going to do, of course, a lot more damage directly, but then it's going to also increase your life costs a lot. But then it just kind of doesn't matter what else is in there. Cast speed's good. And I did try a dueling wand little thing, and it works. But you don't need to do it because you're dealing kind of infinite damage already. So I can briefly show you how that would work. You go over here to this Ritual Cadence keystone, and as you cast Spark, you're going to get stacks of this, and then you're going to be pressing that, and instead of it firing all in one go like that, it's going to do every 2 seconds. So you can do, I preferred Orb of Storms actually over Arc, but Arc is also really good. And if you want to do something like that, the idea is that you're going to make your Orb of Storms all about shocking, not really about the damage. You're going to be using Overcharge to increase the magnitude of that shock. And then you have Commiserate, which you're going to be shocked yourself because of Overcharge. So because of that, you're going to have 40% more magnitude of that shock too. So that's going to be a lot more boss damage. And you don't need that. Now the amulet is an important part of the gear because it's going to have plus 2 spell or projectiles. It's going to have the maximum life, increase maximum life percentage. It's also going to have strength. You could get all attributes. Cast speed is also really nice, especially to move around faster while mapping. And it has some more other stuff. Gem Enthusiast is a pretty crazy notable that we want to instill. It is all the way down the bottom of the tree, all the way here. 5% increased max life if you have at least 10 red support gems, and 5% increased move speed if you have at least 10 support gems. And that is why you're going to be seeing a whole bunch of weird stuff that I still have equipped that I don't even use. The unearth is kind of really to troll people to make them confused, I'm gonna be honest. And just keep in mind that whatever is on your Sigil of Power is going to be on your weapon set 2. So that is not going to count for this on your weapon set 1. So go for 11 strength, 11 dex right up there. So to make it short, you want to go for max life and strength because those are both life on all the gear. That's going to scale your damage immensely. It's going to scale your survival, of course. And the way that it's going to scale our damage is through increasing our crit hit chance because of the Wrath Pith. It's going to increase our damage. It's going to increase the cost, which is going to increase the damage through bloodletting. It's going to increase our crit damage bonus through our ascendancy, which is somewhere. And of course, the more we spend life, the more regen we get, which can go to like 30,000 already for me on a boss fight or whatever. So the support gems become basically all about the life costs. The Zenith is going to make your life costs a lot higher. It's going to be a cost multiplier of 120. And we're always going to be above 90% max mana, so it's going to always be 30% more damage. Heft is going to work very well here because our damage is almost entirely physical. 62,000 out of 75,000 upper hand. Rapid casting is not actually what's going to give you the most DPS, but I use it for moving faster while mapping. And then the projectile acceleration is still going to be really important to have more projectile traveling, not just for bosses. It's going to make the projectiles bounce to the boss more. And it's also going to make it so you hit things farther off screen. A cool thing that you could experiment with that I've not tried yet would be Embitter support, turning all of the extra damage of Spark into cold, and you could make somehow a cold build instead of a physical build. I may try it. And then upon looking at the tree, you may find it a bit weird and a lot of traveling around. Keep in mind that all this traveling is actually not even detrimental for us whatsoever, because we're going to be taking mostly strength nodes. And the last time I looked at in POB, that was actually 2% increased damage to me. With every strength node. That is crazy. The most important things here would be this small passive actually, which breaks armor on crit hit with spells, making it so our Spark is just going to very fast do fully broken armor on the enemy, which means 20% increased physical damage taken on that enemy. Here we have some Arcane Surge stuff, which you may find to be weird. However, with sanguimantic rituals, it becomes the cast speed, but instead of more mana regen, it becomes more life regen. And over here, you get a chance to gain Arcane Surge when you crit 5% and then 5% more, which basically means it's going to be always up. It's always up. Another one unique to the build is going to be Sacrificial Blood, more life cost of skills, and then more spell damage with spells that cost life. And besides that, I would say there's no more weird stuff. There's the max life here and life recovery rate. But besides that, it's going to be crit stuff, crit hit and crit chance. There's going to be projectile speed, skill effect duration, very, very, very good for Spark and also Sigil of Power, etc. And this one is a controlled metamorphosis to get a few very good notables, I would say. The movement speed, projectile damage, which the projectile speed again doubles as projectile damage. Spaghettification is not just there because of the cool name, it's because of the movement speed especially. The attributes is also more strength, which doubles as life, it's 26 life. And this harmonic generator is also pretty nice. 40% increased magnitude of shock with crits is good. I've started to change a few nodes into movement speed now. I'm trying it out, see how much I can go with. And I think I'm going to be able to go with everything, really. And our ideal jewels would be quite expensive. With Grand Spectrum, last time I saw was 29 divines. But it is 6% times 3 increased maximum life, which is going to be insane. The Megalomaniacs are going to be very, very expensive. Heart of the Well is not so expensive, and they are good. You could get those. I didn't care enough because I'm one-shotting everything. And I think that's all I want to talk about. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I hope not. I will still be playing this build for a while longer, even though it's kind of just masturbatory going for more upgrades besides rarity and movement speed. I am one-shotting everything. I may still make another guide update for this build one more time for a high budget variant. But what I think I'm going to be doing next is a crafting guide, a self-crafting guide for the gear for this build. I think it should be really helpful. You can make some crazy crafts in this league. And for really cheap too. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you could leave a like on the video, it would help the channel grow. And subscribe if you want to see my dumbass face again. Love you long time.